ago, you needed all types of equipment, and made it much more difficult to at least to get in the door just to afford those things.
Right, and it's kind of equalized, you know, the space. First of all, that's what the web did. It brought everything. So hey, as long as the only barrier to entry was making sure you had an internet connection, but you could avoid that by going to the library. You know, if you were really passionate about something, you'll find a way.
Yes, that's correct. Very good. So, what led you to Dallas, or was that, or did you actually build your work portfolio in Toronto before leaving?
I'll say I built a little bit of a portfolio. Like I started doing like e-blasts before e-blasts were cool.
Yes.
So it's
those are the days.
Yes. Just sending out, building my list of followers of just people who were into spoken word, people who were into like arts festivals or anything like that, because again, just the difference between what Toronto was at that time to somewhere like Atlanta, where there's something always going on.
Yeah.
But then, especially in the urban, and when I use urban, I'm saying it in more of a city and multicultural facet, that there weren't a lot of things. So when there were, people want to know.
Right.
Or those hidden gems. I took a lot of pride in finding out those small pockets of events that were happening and sharing that. So that's how I was able to build my list. And someone in Dallas found out about me. Don't ask me how, but it's the web, so I'm sure search Google at that time. They were able to find me, and they said that they were working on an event, and would I come down to help them? And I said, well, you know what? And I think I'm telling this story backwards, so I'll go.
We'll say it how we don't want, anyways.
That at that time of me doing these like newsletters and events and things like that, I wasn't making money.
Right.
So I was closing the doors. I just needed a moment. I had a friend in Memphis, and I was just sharing with him what was going on and how hard it was. He's like, you know what, maybe you just need a break. Yeah. So I was actually supposed to go to Memphis and just hang out with the folks down there, and I just didn't feel like that's where I was supposed to go. So here I am, you know, having done a lot of great work. People see the work, so they see how amazing that is, but they don't see that you're not paying your bills.
Right.
Okay, I'm at home with my parents, but still. But still,
they don't see that that you don't have that kind of pocketbook.
You don't. They like you. One, there's a testament to doing quality work, so people think, wow, they see it and it's amazing, but people don't understand what it takes.
Right.
So the time you're spending hours at night scouring, building relationships, and all of that, you're not making money. At that time, people are not paying for it because it's something that's very, very new.
Right.
So there's that time of just discovery. So
and you're mastering. There's a
Yes.
period of time where you just got to get better and better at it.
Right. Because it wasn't, that was again back in the early days. So, you know, graphics weren't all of that on the web yet. It was still a very text-based.
A lot of gifts.
Text-based presentation. So the e-blast might have like, you know, the / signs in a pattern and, you know, just giving the listeners a visual. So I was just shutting things down. So here comes this person from Dallas saying, hey, I want to work with you. I was like, you know what? I'm just not doing promotions and events anymore. But here's someone you can talk to. And
so you passed it on.
I passed it on.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to do that. Like I think sometimes we always want to say yes and sometimes no, especially if you're not going to do it to the best of your ability. Yeah. Like my heart wasn't there because here I am with bills and debt and all this kind of thing and trying to work it out. So let's say, you know, the week before they said that, and here I am supposed to be going to Memphis, but I just didn't feel in my heart. I was like, I don't think that's where I'm supposed to be. People just started coming up around me talking about Dallas out of nowhere. Just Dallas. I went to an award show, and this person I went up to speak to after, they were from Dallas, or they just came back from a retreat from Dallas. This lady had emailed me about Dallas, and I was like, okay, God, are you trying to tell me something? Yeah. And I just told my parents, you know what? I called the lady back, told her, you know what? Do you mind if I just come stay with you for a while and, you know, we'll see what happens. And she was like, come on, sure. Told my parents, I'm just going to go to Dallas. Mind you, I don't know this person besides them emailing me. I don't advise anybody
to do that.
In this day and age, unless, you know.
Well, you can Google somebody now.
Right. That's true. You can Google, you can LinkedIn, you
That's
can Twitter,
right.
you can Facebook. So it's definitely much more
Wow.
safe now. But yeah, I just said, I just feel like God says that I just need to just come to Dallas. And that's what I did. That's how I got to Dallas.
Wow. And then you just started working with her.
36-hour bus ride.
What? Oh, you took the bus.
I told you I was in school. I took the bus for 36 hours, and you know what? It was
A good time to reflect.
reflect. I slept. I slept for like 20 hours. I was probably, no lie, I was probably only awake for when they stopped to take a pit stop. Maybe spoke to a person or two, but I slept most of the time. So now I'm sure my body, I could not do that.
Right.
But at that time.
Now you'd be checking emails and
Right.
doing email blasts.
Right. Doing my video diary, Instagramming it, and everything.
Right,
So the experience would definitely be a lot different. Yeah.
Wow, 36 hours.
Yeah.
So up until before that, before embarking on that journey, did you take a lot of trips to the U.S.? I'm sure New York and Chicago, since all of that's close by.
Yes, so I did the New Yorks. We did the Buffalo growing up. My siblings and I, my parents were like, we would take those weekend or day trips to Buffalo, have family in New York.
Okay.
And then also I would go to Chicago a lot because Chicago had the music industry arts conferences. So, you know, just hop in the car with a couple friends and go down for a day or two. So I was not... Staying with people was not foreign to me. So
Right.
I guess I should put that in a little bit of context because we did, you know, go to these different conferences and of the such. But Dallas,
Yeah, that was a long way.
they call Texas its own country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I did a cross country drive once.
Okay.
From Atlanta to LA, and I made sure that I only drove through Texas on the top tip, that square part, because I did not want to wake up and go to sleep in the same state on my trip. I was like, no, we're not doing that. I want to see new signs. Say, I'm somewhere else now. I'm moving along.
Right.
Yeah, because you'll feel like you'll be there a long time.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, Texas. Okay. Very nice. So, all right. What kind of events were you putting on when you were in Toronto, and what was your focus?
They were a mixture of, I'll say, spoken word, hip hop, R&B. I'm really dating myself. Who says R&B anymore?
Yeah.
We don't even know, like, the younger generation, I'll say, really aware of what that is. But yeah, putting on, and they were definitely like inspirational, inspired. So, you know, we might have a wholly hip hop artist, and just art form wise, they're talking about things that are empowering people. So yeah, I do outside festivals. So I would say, for context, that would be something at Centennial Park. We would have a showcase out there, dancers, break dancers, graffiti artists. So, and that's why I still laugh at, why did I not realize that I am creative?
Right. And how did that happen? Did you just think to yourself, did you walk in through a festival once and say, you know what, I could do one just like this, but our focus would be something, and then you started doing it, or did you start working with a group? How did that inspiration come to you?
You know what, talking to you right now, I'm learning a lot about myself.
Then you done forgot. Huh? You're like,
really
like
am.
what was I doing?
You know what, I just, if I see something, then I'll do it. So yes, I walked down, and the square that I did it at was Mel Lastman Square. He was a former mayor in Toronto. And walking by, and I was like, ooh, that looks like a great spot. Not even so much seeing what other people did, but just the layout. And I'm big on, I teach UX at the Creative Circus.
Okay.
So this is pre any knowledge of UX, but what an audience member, what their experience would be like.
Yeah.
Like, there's vendors out here, so okay, great. So we can get some people who can sell food over here. Behind the stage, it's enough space for us. The audio equipment, the price to rent the venue. Because yes, people, when you go to an event, most likely the promoter or the events coordinator had to pay for the space.
That's right.
So just the affordability as well, and just doing it. And I think whenever I would think of what kind of event I wanted to put together, it's, okay, I'm thinking of, I want to touch someone. I want to speak to someone. I want to inspire someone. Like, how many times have I already said inspire, you know, in this podcast? So those are the things I was thinking about. And then I would search for the people, because now, 10 years later, realizing that I'm a connector, that, okay, say I met you at that time, like, ooh, Dan, the world needs to meet Dan. That's how I would think. And that, you could either be out there doing tattoos, what that would look like for people walking in. Yes, there are people who will probably want to come up and do tattoos, or maybe, doing sketching people there. And then I would think, oh, I know a rapper that they would be great at XYZ, so I start pulling the pieces together.
Yeah.
So I'm very visual, and I'm seeing these elements pull together, and then I just make it happen. I know that I need to make it happen, and I just go.
Yeah. Okay. And that's it. That's how it began.
That's it.
And you pull in the things that you like, the stuff you're interested in.
Yeah. Things I'm interested, but then also things that I know other people would be interested in. And for me, I'm much bigger on people's attitudes. Like, you could be the best artist in the world, and if your attitude sucks, I'm not working with you.
Right.
Was that blunt? Was that too blunt?
No, but that's about right.
Yeah, it's true, and I don't know that people really realize that. Is that if you're creating an experience, well, if I have a poor experience with you, most likely other people are going to have a poor experience, and I don't want to be responsible for passing that on.
Yes. No, that's very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you'll be the next person who has a bad experience will affiliate you to that.
Well, Liberty said, as if my stamp of approval, I just vetted that, you're a complete person, because people know that I deal with the whole, the talent and the person. And then you
have to be careful. Yeah, I get that all the time. I may turn down a job and they say, well, you know somebody else who could do this for cheap? And I say no.
Because there you go, you're respecting and valuing that artist's time, because just because they saw, well, you're too much. First of all, they had the gall to ask you if you knew somebody who would do it cheaper.
Yeah. Like, you don't want this person in business.
Yeah, that speaks. Like, people, my husband says all the time, like, people show you how to treat you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Yes.
And put into practice in your own life and business.
Yeah.
So you were to Dallas, and now you're in Atlanta. And are you still working with that company?
No, I left after 2.5 years because I was at the top. Like, I was the web director.
Okay.
So there was no one else. There was no one to learn from. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to throw up the deuces. And I left to, at that time, I started to do shows on MARTA.
Okay.
So little video snips called Only in the A. And
what?
Yep.
Okay.
There's some videos online out there. And the way that happened was just on my way to work when I was still at that organization, that I was riding on the bus and I saw all this content that spoke about Miami and Florida and California. And I was like, I'm in Atlanta. I don't necessarily, that's interesting, but tell me about what's going on at the high. Tell me about what's going on, at the underground.
Yeah.
I can't, if I'm in transit, I can't hop off and go to this place in Miami, but I can hop off and go to something that you're telling me that's happening here locally. So again, just thinking, okay, how do I pull this together? So I asked friends for some videographers that we could work with. Where I worked, there were some videographers, so I worked with them as well. Because the vision was in my head, I hosted. I really am like being behind the scenes. But if you can't pay people,
you do it yourself.
You gotta do it yourself.
But you have a good attitude and good voice and good demeanor.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything works well. You're very hype.
Yeah.
And,
am I?
Yeah.
What?
And it comes across very well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was, that's how that show Only in the A started. So my thought process was, okay, I'm going to leave working at the publication and then work on doing this show. And that was in 2008. And if anybody remembers what happens at the end of 2008, was the market crashed. So here it is, the beginning of January. I'm an entrepreneur now, doing my own thing and starting to look for advertisers and things like that for this show. And then I found out that the network went bankrupt. Wow. So there goes my business model and platform and snap, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So, like any, and I don't know if I share this, but my parents are Jamaican, so